The following presentation is part of the Beyond the Blast Doors network.
This week on BTBD Live, Boba Fett is back. What does this mean for Mando? What other characters are going to be showing up? That conversation in just a few minutes.
We got our hands on an early copy of The Empire Strikes Back from a certain point of view. We're going to give you 3 reasons why you need to pick it up.
And just how many thousands of backers can the Haslab Razorcrest project get? We have Josh and Andy from Holochronicles joining us on the show to break down all the added features, why you should consider buying this thing for $350. I might even do it. It could happen. I should pay off a credit card, but I'm probably going to buy this toy.
From the farthest reaches of the galaxy, the Midwest, you're watching Beyond the Blast Doors Live.
Boba Fett is back in Star Wars canon. Hot diggity, it's only been 37 years. Is that right? I don't know. I wasn't alive back then. I caught them all on VHS. I don't know what's going on. Hey, it's BTBD Live, episode 95. Guess who's back? That's right. Boba is back. And joining me on this Wednesday Live, it's you, it's me, and it's also these 3 beautiful people. We've got Miss Arezou, everybody.
Hello.
How are you doing, friend? How you feel?
I'm feeling good. Excited to talk Mando.
Oh, we're going to talk a lot of Mando because we haven't had a chance yet. And someone else who's just thirsty, just dripping with joy and excitement to talk about the Mandalorian. We have Mr. Pete Fletcher.
Hello. How are you? I'm excited. I can't believe I haven't spoken to anybody about the Mandalorian other than I've texted you guys, and I talked to my 8-year-old, my 11-year-old about it, and that's it. Like it's killing me inside. So I'm excited to be here.
What do you think that does for your mental health when you really just hang out with people that are half your age?
Right. Well, I'm starting in a bad spot, so I'm not sure that it's really that helpful. So.
No, we're going to have a really good time here in the next hour. We're talking the Mandalorian, like we said. We got the Haslab project. The Holochronicles boys will be with us at the bottom of the hour. We also have Marie Wilson, who's going to stop in about 15 to 20 minutes and talk about some Star Wars issue number 8. I almost said episode 8, but it's issue 8 because we're talking about comic books. And we also have a couple other surprises along the way. So really excited to be in this conversation with you. Dive into live chat real quick. It looks like we're joined with Mr. Scotty J. Rowe of the Bombad Cast. Scotty's hanging out with us. We got Gilster37, Matthew H., All Remaining Systems, Comic Bricks, Frammy. Oh my gosh, we got a lot of people with us on this Wednesday night. So this is really exciting. If this is your first time with us, or if you're coming back for another Star Wars conversation, glad that you're with us. Do us a favor and share us right now on your Twitter and Facebook. Let's double the live chat. Episode 95 of BTBD Live. It kind of rhymes. That's fun. Cow. Yeah, I mean, it's taken 4 years. There were a lot of sabbaticals. There's been like a 3-month sabbatical every year except this past year, which is honestly pretty impressive. I blame you, Pete. I haven't burnt out yet.
Well, I'm doing my best.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, we're sticking together. We're going to have a lot of... Make sure that you know that you can always comment in the live chat when you're joining us in the live show. We'll throw your comments up there during the show. Catch us on the rewind. You can always tweet us at BTBD Star Wars. You can also comment down in the YouTube comment section with whatever your thoughts are, whether it's about Mando or the Haslab project, whatever we're talking about on tonight's show, whatever we're talking about in this moment. We just want you to comment about. Last week was super awesome. We had like 40 comments. We just kept that Star Wars conversation going. So we'd like to feed off that from last week and make this week awesome too. My goodness, the Mandalorian. This is going to be an intense conversation. I'm really excited about it because I know that there's just going to be some fun takes, and it might be because I've already talked to Pete about what he wants to say. But hey, listen, Mandalorian Chapter 10. It drops this Friday on the Disney Plus. Favorite series starring an armored warrior and his adorable young charge returns. As far as last week in Chapter 9, the Marshal, which we thought was like called the Search. Well, that was freaking wrong. It's called the Marshal. And it was a really thrilling premiere because it introduced a lot of new characters and offered some pretty cool surprises like the Crate Dragon, like Boba Fett, like Cobb Vanth, like the Crate Dragon, like the Crate Dragon's, what is it? Crystal, an egg,
Pearl.
Something.
The Pearl,
an off-world Jawa, Anakin's pod racer engine back from the junkyards of Watto's whatever. Fans hope to get a lot of answers for this week's episode because, of course, last week's episode ended on this shot. where you have a beaten and battered, what we assume Boba Fett, looking out over the twin suns and the Mandalorian peeling away with his armor. And fans, let's just start here. Pete.
Yeah.
A lot to digest from that first chapter of season 2.
Yep.
What is the most important element we hold on to as we prepare for this chapter 10 that's just a couple days away?
The most important part, I think, as it relates to the series, the most important part is we know what I think we're going to see Mando hunting this year. I think he's going to be looking for more Mandalorians, and the objective that he said was to be able to find more Mandalorians so he could take advantage of their sort of coverts to find his way to bring the child back to his kind, whatever that means. Does his kind mean Jedi? Does it mean more little green men? Don't know. But my key takeaway was, as I watched it, it struck me that the answer at the very end of this episode was to the 37-year-old question: did Boba Fett survive the Sarlacc pit? And to me, it's fairly obvious. Yes, he did.
What was the joy for you? And I mean, Arezou, obviously we're going to talk about your joy too, but Pete is somebody who has been able to enjoy this saga for most of your life. What is that moment like when you see him back on camera, knowing that he's back from the dead, so to say?
Yeah.
You got to see him die in the Sarlacc pit back in the early 80s. What was that moment like for you?
Well, it's funny because this episode for me as a fan brought in like all kinds of different emotions, because also don't forget, I'm one of the few people that list Chuck Wendig's books at the top of my list of Star Wars books too. So to see the first novel created, written word created character come to life in Cobb Vanth on screen was really wild, really exciting to see, and really cool to get that answer to the question about Boba Fett. The funny thing is, as soon as I saw the title was The Marshal, I was like, yep, that's where we're going with this one. They got us. And then when they introduced Cobb Vanth, and I just thought to myself, well, okay, so Boba Fett died. That's cool. I can deal with that. And the ending, while not as shock value-ish, I'm just making up words now, didn't have the same shock value as the child. There certainly was a like, oh, whoa moment when in fact, when I saw the bald head, I was like, I wonder, is that? And then when he turned around and it was Tamora, it was like, wow. I mean, it was, again, not the same shock value as the child, but a different shock value that was to hardcore fans. I think it was just as valuable.
What I think is so great about the decision to bring back Tamora Morrison as Boba Fett, Arezou, is the fact that you're able to pull on those heartstrings from the original trilogy with Boba Fett, but also a great opportunity to connect to this series, connect it to the prequels, and having the face of the clones. That cohesion is really nice. I know a lot of people aren't necessarily a fan of Tamora being the voiceover now for Boba in the original trilogies and in the special editions following the prequels. I personally, I'm okay with it. It's a little bit more consistent overall. I like that thread. Were you feeling something similar, Arezou? Was that a powerful moment for you? Can you tell us what you felt?
Well, I'm glad I didn't watch this episode with anybody else, because I don't think my family would have liked the very dramatic scream I let out when I turned around. Like, there was flailing. It was a whole thing. So I'm glad I watched this by myself first. I was like, wow. But no, yeah, I, like Dave said, like, I like that cohesion with the prequels. I like that Tamora's back. So yeah, that was my main excitement, because I'm not a huge like Boba Fett fan. Like, he's okay. I'm like, if he's dead, he's alive. It makes no difference to me.
Right.
But I do like that they are tying things back to the prequels too, and it's not just solely original trilogy focus, because the prequels are my nostalgia, my childhood. So I like that that's coming into play.
I think that's so important for you to mention too, because we are at that point in time now where we're reflecting on our Star Wars. You don't really own it as a fan, but you do have this emotional bond. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was raised on the original trilogy because that's what you had to watch in 96 before the prequels dropped. So I kind of feel like I'm both of our generation and and Pete's in a way. I feel like I'm shared between the two. But I will say this. Last week on the show, we talked about Pedro Pascal going on Good Morning America and saying there's a sequence in the first episode that made him think, wow, they're really capable of doing anything at this point, and how they were able to bring it to life. I think it's safe to say at this point that would be the Crate Dragon sequence. You know, the Crate Dragon from the EU. You know what I mean? The Crate Dragon that we've seen the skeleton in the sands of Tatooine ever since we first saw New Hope. I mean, the Crate Dragon that has a pearl that can be shaved down to be a freaking fuel thing for a lightsaber. I mean, this is just blowing my mind on a lot of levels. Guys, when you see that monstrous thing coming out of the sand, I mean, the best line of this whole episode to me was, "Is that to scale?" I just like it just hit on so many levels. When you saw the Crate Dragon for the first time, how did that hit your mind, Pete? I just, for me, I went numb. Like just now, I went numb.
You know, I think one of the things that's amazing to me is that it was feature film quality. I felt. I mean, some people had made comments that it wasn't, whatever, but I mean, it elevated the game. I mean, the Mudhorn in the second episode was pretty cool, pretty dramatic, but they upped the game here with the Crate Dragon. It looked so good. The scale was, you know, you're right, that sort of meta comment that he made about it, that is at the scale. It expanded the universe. You know, one of the things that I was always a little bit afraid of, now that we knew how the volume worked, was that things would feel confined, right? Even as a backdrop, right? But this felt like they went to the sands of Tunisia to shoot this whole thing. It was pretty it was incredibly well put together, and it brought that epic film level scale to the series.
I thought the texture of the Crate Dragon was super impressive. It was almost like when I watched Lord of the Rings for the first time, and I just remember that thinking, wow, this is way beyond where I thought you could go with CG. And especially when you have like the sand people launching the I don't know, I'm gonna call them thick arrows. I don't know, the big arrow spears into it. Like that whole sequence, I was like, wow, that looks like that dragon actually exists. And I don't know if I ever imagined what a Crate Dragon really would look like in live action, but I'm pleasantly surprised. It was massive. The way they could use it with humor as well. It comes out, eats a sand person instead of the bantha. You know, just little things to really get you to buy in. And Arezou, I don't know if I'm going a little too strong with this point, but I just feel like they get Star Wars humor with this series, mostly situational. Did you find yourself laughing through this episode? I was chuckling the entire time, Arezou.
I wasn't laughing because I was very tense.
Oh,
because so the Crate Dragon reminded me of the worm from Dune. So I just didn't know when it was going to come bursting out of the sand, and like once they put the bantha there, and like there are, you know, explosives everywhere, and of course that never goes to plan. So I was very like on edge the whole time. But that said, I think The Mandalorian is great in general at the situational humor.
Yeah,
so I'm not totally disagreeing, but just in that Crate Dragon moment, I'm like, this isn't funny, this is tense.
Well, and so much of the humor, I think, is reliant in Cobb Vanth, and I made a promise to pull up this image.
Yes,
because
I want to see him.
Yeah, Arezou likes a man in armor, and we got two on screen. But Cobb Vanth really steals the show, as he should. How do you guys feel like Timothy Oliphant has done with this creation of Chuck Wendig? I feel like he hit on every level. The aesthetic is cool. His voice is awesome. The humor, when he tells the Mandalorian to wait a minute in their standoff inside the cantina, like everything just worked really well for me. Pete, you look like him. What do you think of the character?
Well, you know what? I loved the fact that Star Wars has always flirted with that Western aesthetic.
Yeah.
And putting Timothy Oliphant from, you know, who did the great work on Deadwood, is a gunslinger. Like he's the unknown Western actor until now. Again, I think everybody's going to become aware of him. I thought he played him perfectly. I thought he almost had Alden Ehrenreich level chops as far as timing, like some
Yeah.
comedic timing, like the when we said something like this is going to be good or something like that, this is going to be fine. But he just had that kind of cockiness where you can kind of see where Han Solo kind of had that same kind of Western vibe, and I thought it was he fit in let me put the best way to put it, the best compliment I can give him is he fit in the Star Wars universe perfectly.
I absolutely, and I think that when it's not, there was not an effort to push so hard. I feel like he identified that this character was going to work very organically with the characters in the scene, but also with fans.
Mm-hmm.
And I never felt like he was trying to be cool, which is sometimes a vibe I get from these cameo characters, and not just in The Mandalorian, but just kind of across the galaxy.
Right.
There's a few characters I can think of. But, Arezou, you've read a lot of Chuck Wendig's series. I think you've read all three.
I've read the whole thing.
So, okay.
I've read them all the canon books.
So you're a fan. How much more, is it worth someone like, a casual Star Wars fan? Why is it worth them checking out the Aftermath trilogy to get a little bit more Cobb Vanth storyline?
I think Cobb Vanth in the series makes Cobb Vanth in the books more interesting. Mm-hmm. Because in the books, the Aftermath books, the way they're structured is there's the main narrative and then there's these little interludes that are just 1 or 2 chapters about like cameo characters essentially in the galaxy, and Cobb Vanth is one of those. So he's only in cameos throughout the series, but I think this makes him more interesting in retrospect because whenever he pops up, it's usually playing into somebody else's story. So that's like, even when they announced that Cobb Vanth would be in The Mandalorian, it took me a minute to put it together. Mm-hmm. Because I didn't make that association right away. So I think now if you enjoyed Cobb Vanth here, then it would be worth checking the books out.
Yeah, I really agree with that. I think that Cobb Vanth was one of the coolest characters from that Aftermath trilogy. Obviously, there's the connection there with the armor. And I have seen some fans of the books and of The Mandalorian kind of going back and forth about how does this version of the character manipulate maybe the origins that we got in the book. And I think that as fans, we need to have some flexibility. Go ahead.
It doesn't even change it that much, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I think there's been a couple conversations just recently on my show where I've had conversations with authors and things. We talk about canon versus legends and things like that. And the way I took it was we got the version that Cobb told him while they were on the speeder on the way to where they were going. The book gives you the actual what happened, and it wasn't that far off. It's like he left out some of it, right?
Yeah.
He speeded along through the story to tell a different story, So
he's telling the beats Mando needs to know.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I know that we like to always tell you what's like next and what things mean, but real quick, the fact that his speeder is an engine of Anakin's pod racer, is that making it too small, or is that a really nice Easter egg?
I think it's a nice Easter egg. If you don't know, it doesn't take away from the scene at all. But if you know, you'd be like, "That's Anakin!" And then you can get that's Anakin, and you can get really excited about.
Well, a lot of people were pissed off, Pete, when they saw Phantom Menace, and they're like, "Vader built C-3PO, bullshit."
Yeah,
and I'm like, "Well, is this on the same level as that?"
To me, it is a small galaxy. It's a huge galaxy, but it's also very small, and stories are boring if they're not connected, right? And so I in my head canon, this is a common engine somewhere on Tatooine. And it's more likely that Anakin built it out of 2 speeders versus the other way around, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it was that sort of reminder of, hey, remember this? And again, it was enough so that you noticed it. Those of us who are complete nerds about things, we picked it up. But one of the things that's really interesting, and I want to touch on it really, really quick, is I asked 2 friends of mine who are Star Wars fans, but not,
in the life,
right? What they thought of the end scene, and not one of them, of the 2, picked up that it was Boba Fett or Tamora Morrison or Jango Fett. They were just like, yeah, that was cool. Like somebody's watching. So but it worked for them still. Like to them, it was, they're being watched kind of a thing versus where we're like, they're being watched by Boba Fett. So, but it'll be interesting to see how they carry this character over into future episodes.
Well, chapter 10, I mean, we're going to learn exactly how Boba Fett escaped the Sarlacc pit, right? I mean, what do we think that's going to be? Do you think it's going to be the Krayt Dragon that ate that Sarlacc pit, allowed him to escape? Was he able to malfunction that jetpack again and fly out? I mean, are we want to take some stabs at this before we move on to the next topic?
I want episode. Here's how I want chapter 10 to start. I want to start with Din coming up to the Razorcrest, and waiting for him there is Boba Fett and Fennec Shan, just waiting for him and saying, "Give me my armor back." And then they have to work together or something. I think it would be really cool if somehow Boba Fett became an integral part to Din's journey as a Mandalorian. I think that would be really, really wild. I also don't know. My other prediction for episode 10 is I don't think we're going to see much of the Mandalorian. I think we're going to get a story about Moff Gideon this week. I don't know why. I just feel like we are.
See, I think what this allows to have happen is because you have a Boba Fett back. What, and this is just hypotheticals.
Yeah.
What if it's Fennec Shan? What if it's also Cad Bane back?
No, that would be great. I mean,
Now,
that's
Not actually.
not actually.
I said in live action.
Oh, not actually. I was like, all right, let's go.
Not
You,
actually.
me, let's go.
No, but I'm being serious. Like, here's, when I'm thinking about like, if you brought in Boba Fett, because this is what I don't. For some reason, I think it'd be so cool if they would somehow bring that deleted scene from Clone Wars back. So you have Boba with Fennec trying to track down the Mandalorian, who's got the Boba Fett armor from freaking Timothy Oliphant, right? Because that's the canon character's name. Okay, and then they're in the streets of Tatooine. They can be in Mos Pelgo or wherever the hell they are, and then it's like Boba Fett just gets the armor back on, and then boom, right around the corner, Cad Bane is there, and he says something like, "Well, I've been waiting for this," or whatever, and then Bo kills him. So you get Boba back, you kill Cad Bane, and I mean, like, holy shit! I mean, what more do you want in an episode of The Mandalorian? I just think that would be. I'm just wishful thinking at this point because I just got the new Cad Bane Black Series figure, and I'm just like, I want this guy back in live action so bad. Realistically, I don't think that's going to happen, but I really do think that we are going to get the story of how he escaped. There's a story behind those scars, and it might just be as simple as how he got out of that pit. I think we should wrap up this conversation. But Arezou, is there anything that we haven't talked about this upcoming episode that you think could happen, that you think that we need to point out in this conversation?
No, I think between the plausible of Boba Fett going to give my armor back and then the Cad Bane shootout in Mos Pelgo, it could go either way.
Listen, I'm just swinging for the fences here. I mean, what do I have to lose?
Right. It's not your story.
I'm just here to win on everybody's
story. You know how great it feels not to be responsible for the Mandalorian story? Because that's a lot of pressure I don't want in my life. Oh my gosh. It's be like, oh my gosh. Like this so like I've been in quarantine. I got the COVID and I've beaten that, and I'm like, wow, that sucked. I don't want to do that again. And then like the election, I'm like, well, I don't want to do that again. Go blue. And then I was like, oh, the Mandalorian, I definitely want to watch the episode again. I don't want to be responsible for it. It's way more fun just to watch it as a fan, drink a beer. I can do that because I don't work on Fridays.
Well, there you go.
What do you think about the Mandalorian Chapter 10? We want to know what you think. Let us know in the live chat. If you support my day drinking, let me know. And then if you have any point on that, or if you like Pete's theory, or if you like Arezou's take on what happened in Chapter 9, let us know down in the comments below, or tweet us at BTBD Star Wars. All right. Let's go to the live chat real quick and just see what everyone's saying. Because it looks like we've got Silos 189. Oh my gosh. We got Silos in the live chat. I've not seen you in forever. Good to see you, my friend. Says, I want to see Jackson in The Mandalorian. I want some Jackson in The Mandalorian. That'd be so funny if he's just like running around in the background. I would do it. Listen, there are some. Kevin Scott's a treasure for a few reasons. I love a lot of the stories he did. Dooku Jedi Lost, fantastic freaking story. But his efforts to bring Jackson back in the canon that's why he's my spirit animal. Relentless. Not Jackson, but Kevin. Yeah,
and he got it.
It's every freaking year we get at least one Jackson comic. It's wonderful. Hey, CeeLo, so great to see you. We've got Andre in the live chat. I haven't seen Andre so good to see you. He says he didn't Boba kill Cad Bane. I don't think that's actually been confirmed. It was a deleted scene where they had a standoff that I referenced, but I don't think that anything's official. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Cad Bane is still wandering the galaxy out there. So, my theory could happen. We got DelRay and Spencer in the house. So good to see you, friend. Wow, I'm just like really excited. We got Roland's reviews here. I mean, like we got a really great crew in the live chat. So thank you for being with us. Episode, it's BTBD Live, episode 95, right? So go ahead and, if you can, share this live stream right now on your social media. Let's dub the live chat. But we got a great crew here as we go into the next topic of the show. And that's a little beyond the panel action. And Pete and Arezou are going to step to the side real quick. And I'm actually going to bring in a friend of the show. In fact, she's the person we go beyond the panel with every week. It is my friend Marie Wilson. Marie, how you doing, friend?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing so well. It's been a wild week. I feel really good about life right now. I feel really good after reading Charles Soule, Star Wars #8. This was a blast of an article. I cannot get too much Rebellion, Empire, post-Empire Strikes Back. It's a really rich era. And I'm going to start in right with this. I think that's a good setup for what's happening right now in the comics. But it looks like the Imperials are still hot on pursuit of the Rebel Alliance. Luke's running around with a yellow lightsaber. So, which I don't know how I still feel about that. But first things first, if I'm a casual Star Wars fan, I'm not following this comic, what do I need to know about in this issue?
So in this issue, we have Commander Zara, who's an Imperial officer, and has a Imperial assault group that is trying to bring together covertly all of the different rebel fleets that have been separated after the travesty at Hoth. So there are two fleets that they have brought together, and Zara's assault group is blockading the hangar bay of Home 1, and so there's like ties everywhere. And then Zara sneaks in to Leia's ship and tries to take away her hope. And that's kind of what the main thrust of this issue was Commander Zara trying to bring Leia down a few notches.
You know, I guess I get tied up on, it's not canonical rewrites, but I definitely think the comics allow some flexibility to really kind of, I don't know, just really play in that sandbox and really spread it out. I feel like sometimes we as fans, we're just so critical and we're so strict on this is what happened, this is canon. And then anytime we explore the in-between, we get very like territorial about it. You know, can you explain, how does Luke have this yellow lightsaber right now? What's the significance of that?
So Luke's yellow lightsaber was taken from a temple that he went to where the Grand Inquisitor, spirit, fiery, ghosty spirit thing, came out and tried to stop him from taking this, what is supposedly, I would think, a Jedi Temple Guard lightsaber. And so he's got that saber right now. He doesn't have his green saber yet. That hasn't come along yet. I'm sure they'll show it in the comics how he got that, how he created his own saber. But yeah, it was a Temple Guard saber. So I think that's pretty cool.
I thought it was pretty cool. For some reason, I thought the Grand Inquisitor was somehow tied to that saber. But I think I made that up in my mind, which is totally possible because I get things like this wrong all the time. When I also saw that there was a Star Wars Adventures comic, I believe, that came out this week, and it looked like there was maybe a Tale from Vader's Castle that dropped as well. You know, we got some dads and moms in the chat. You know, we don't have to go into what they're about, but those are lines that you think would be great for kids to dive into.
Especially, we've only had one issue of the Star Wars Adventures so far that started this year.
Mm-hmm.
But the previous run of Star Wars Adventures, oh my gosh, I highly recommend it to anybody because it connects all canon, which is awesome. And the Tales from Vader's Castle are just wonderfully spooky fun, not too scary, although some in the past have been a little creepy. But Shadow of Vader's Castle is what just came out, and it was really good.
and I know that you did a review on your blog of that. Yeah, I just think that series did such a better job of just telling a story there. I always compare it to Screaming Citadel, that 5-issue miniseries that did not land well with me whatsoever. It was trying to do Star Wars horror. There were like those zombie Gungans and Ithorians that was kind of cool. And then after that second issue, it just really tanked for me. But I think that this latest series is a lot of fun. And yeah, it's a great comic that I think that parents and kids can read through. And, it's not the most serious of Star Wars, but it's fun. And it's another good way to support our local comic book shops. Marie, looking ahead, what's the Star Wars comics that we need to be looking at for next week that we should be prepared to pick up?
So next week is Darth Vader #7.
Yes.
Which is going to be super exciting because we'll see what happens after Vader was left, just as he was left as Anakin. Well, Anakin Vader, human, non-cyborg Vader, on the beaches of Mustafar. So that will be incredibly interesting. And the second issue, and then I think maybe Star Wars Adventures Annual 2020 will be out too, but that keeps being
pushed along. Well,
Yeah.
like a lot of comics have been pushed because of the pandemic, so I think they're trying to get some bearings still. I know that a lot of stuff is still shuffled.
Yeah.
But looking forward to all that stuff. And if you like anything that Marie was able to break down in the last couple of minutes, go to your local comic book shop, find them right now. They could really use the support because of the pandemic. Find these comics, start a pull list, and dive into these comics because they are a lot of fun. I'm a Charles Soule fan. I really do like the Star Wars run, but Greg Pak's Vader, that has a next issue coming out next week, like Marie just said, that is the best Star Wars comic story out there right now, hands down. Go find it. It's not too late. And still, we're under 10 issues in, right? So you can go to those back issue boxes and bins, and you can find yourself those issues to get caught back up. And it allows for a really fun day. And let's say you get maybe an exclusive cover, and maybe you'd want to trade with me. I'll let you know. Still looking for issue #5, cover C. All right, cover C. Marie, thank you so much.
Welcome. Thank you.
Absolutely. People want to follow you. What's the best way to do that?
You can follow me on Twitter at Alia Morgaine.
All right, wonderful. Marie Wilson with BeyondTheBlastDoors.com. You can catch her reviews on BeyondTheBlastDoors.com every Wednesday, and she joins us every Wednesday night to go beyond the panel. Marie Wilson, thank you again for joining us. Let me know what Star Wars comic books you're reading right now. I want to know, fam. I think that we can have always a lot of fun diving into these stories that get kooky. Luke gets a yellow lightsaber for a while. It's a Temple Guard saber. That's freaking weird. Did not know that was a thing in 1996 when I watched Empire for the first time. But and now we know. And now we get to figure out how that story unveils. So really exciting stuff there. I'm back with my good friends, Pete Fletcher and Arezou. And I can do things like, woo, throw people around.
Ooh.
That's right. Just throw you around like that.
Separation.
Because I'm in
I wasn't
control of this
ready for
ship,
that.
damn it. It's my ship. I don't know
Captain
why.
now.
But every week I try and do a Gumby impression on the show, and it makes no damn sense. Why? I don't know why I continue to do this. I think we should go on to the next segment. And before I do, I'm going to ask Mr. Pete Fletcher to crank up his mic just a little bit so we can make sure that we hear him just a little bit more, because this conversation is all about Pete. It's not all about Pete, it's mainly about Pete. Very excited about this. Always fun when we get to talk about Star Wars canon in this regards. DelRay, Star Wars, from a certain point of view, Empire Strikes Back. It's about to hit bookshelves this month. Pete has his hands on an advanced copy. And if you're not familiar with this, it's an anthology celebrating 40 years of Empire Strikes Back. Very similar to a version that came out a few years ago for A New Hope, but it's 40 short stories by 40 different authors, voiced by different Star Wars alum and just other celebrities, reimagining that classic sequel through the eyes of some pretty cool heroes, villains, droids, and even creatures. From a certain point of view, The Empire Strikes Back, that arrives on shelves November 10th. And my friend Pete Fletcher, you got your hands on this book, and there's a couple of moments that really just stand out to you after one reading, right?
Yeah, it's a fun. First of all, it's it's a lot thicker than I expected, and there's a lot of pages. But it's there's a handful of really great stories in there. To me, it's funny. One of the stories that when we first found out what the stories were going to be when they were unveiled a couple months ago, or a month ago, I guess it was, and we talked about it here on the show. One of the stories I was looking forward to was the story by Mike Chen called "Disturbance," about sort of the moment that that Palpatine figures out the Luke Skywalker Darth Vader connection, and or that Luke was the one who blew up the Death Star, and why Vader's obsessed with finding him. I won't tell you anything about the story. It's so well done. It swings for the fences, and it definitely the way Mike Chen actually sort of makes you feel like you understand what a Force vision might look like is great. That's always sort of a risky thing to do. That's a fun story. There's a really fun story by Brittany Williams. And that's one of the great things about this book. First of all, you have 40 stories, 40 different authors, and you're getting authors that we know. Jason Fry writes a great story in there. Kevin Scott writes a story about Jackson, the green rabbit creature that we were talking about before. Delilah Dawson has a story in there. So there's authors, and there's authors that we haven't met before or heard from before. But as I was just saying, Brittany Williams writes a really fun story about, there was a big sort of hullabaloo, is that a word that we can still use, about after we saw Solo, a Star Wars story. People were saying, well, that line when 3PO says your ship has the most peculiar dialect, we get that story. We get the story of the connection between 3PO and the ship, and L337 makes her return. So that's a lot of fun as well. But so there's sort of three reasons I say that these books are worth getting. First of all, I need to preface this by saying I was a big fan of the A New Hope version. I thought that was so well done. You all know. So first of all, number one reason why I love this book is I have no attention span, and so it is great for me to be able to pick up a book and read one or two stories in a 20-minute period and just sort of do it that way. Number two, you can revisit some of our favorites like Jason Fry in a story that he shares, or you can discover new things. And number three, you do get stories that some are heartbreaking. The way Mike, read Disturbance first when you pick this up, the Mike Chen story, because the way he gives you insight into the way Vader thinks and what Palpatine uncovers from him, brilliant, and in many cases heartbreaking. But it also ends with the most ridiculous story about the Journal of the Wills writing The Empire Strikes Back. So it's great. It's funny. It's heart-wrenching. It's a lot of fun. And like I said, it's a thick book, but you can pick it up and just read something when you got some time to kill. It's a lot of fun.
You mentioned the A New Hope version. The one moment that I really wanted a story behind from A New Hope was why they didn't fire on those escape pods at the beginning. And there's a background story to that. And it's arguably my favorite from that book. I think for me personally, the moment that I want to explore from Empire Strikes Back, that scene with Han and Leia in the corridor of Echo Base. What did happen back in Ord Mantell? Like, what happened then? That I don't know if that story is explored or not, but when I learned about this book, that was a conversation that came to my mind. Arezou, you and I are on the other side of this. We don't have this book in hand yet, but what is it? What is something that excites you as someone who loves to read the Star Wars books? What really has you hyped for this new release?
Well, mostly because I love the first one. The first one was actually the first canon book I read at all. And it's kind of what made me want to read the rest of it. So yeah, just getting to like revisit it in these minute kind of like, some of them are funny, some of them are going to break your heart. Like I already know this. I already know I'm going to be laughing and crying in equal measure. And so that's why I'm excited. But I'm also very excited to hear that the Wills get another story, because that's my favorite story from the first one.
Yeah.
So I'm excited that they're back.
Yes. And as humorous as before. It's great.
Excellent.
Well, and something that I'm really excited about this is because you have 40 different authors, you're also getting 40 different storytellers in the sense of the audiobook. And it's something that we talk a lot on this show is you can read the book and have a great experience, but the audio versions of Star Wars books are radio, like they're like classic radio episodes from like the 30s and 40s, these big over the top productions with music and the sound effects. I know John Hamm is narrating one of these 40 short stories. So that really excites me. I will be buying this book, but I will also be using my Audible points to get the audiobook to listen to in the car.
Same. Yep.
It just adds so much, Pete. I mean, I think that's maybe half the fun of reading Star Wars books here in 2020.
Yeah, and it's cool that they didn't just have one author or one voice actor do it, and the fact that they're breaking it up, I think, is really a lot of fun. One other thing that's really interesting to note about this that I didn't know until recently was that all the authors in this book have foregone their pay for the book so that money can be donated to an organization called First Book, which is a charity that DelRay and Lucasfilm have donated to and are donating to ensure that materials and educational materials and books are donated to kids in need. So it's a cool thing on top of everything else. And in a world that could use a little charity, it's nice to see that they're doing it sort of a Star Warsy kind of way. So
I thought you were about to quote the Thomas Rhett song that just came out with Reba, where it's like, in a world full of dark be the light. And I'm like, this is taking a very strange turn. This is a very strange book review. All of a sudden we're quoting 2020 country
music, the whole thing.
I'm so excited to read this book. Pete, you did a wonderful review for everyone to see on beyondtheblastdoors.com. You can check that out right now if you want to take a little bit deeper dive with Pete into what makes this book so special, why you need it. Again, it's out November 10th. Check it out. In the live chat, I did ask you if you like these anthology books that give small moments, big background, or would you prefer things to stay a mystery? And so we actually got some pretty cool responses. Frammy, why was Vader so ready to write Admiral Ozzel off as a was of time? Well, I don't think you typed that right. It was clear that the Hoth incident was just the latest thing the Admiral screwed up. Yeah, Ozzel seems to be incident prone, and there's some past events here that we need to find out, because he clearly was a weak spot in the staff on that Star.
And that story's in there, yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Another reason to pick it up.
Absolutely. All remaining systems. I think the debatability canon and often contradictory nature of these stories makes them okay. They don't ruin the mystery because of that. I think that's a good point too, because like if you want to know the canon story behind every little thing, yeah, this book is for you. If you have headcanon that you enjoy, or you want to or you don't have to like overload your brain to remember all this crap, then okay, you don't have to read the book. Your experience isn't changed either. So it can go either way for a fan, and I respect that. But to me, I just think that this is one of those books you pick up. You know, I can understand not wanting to buy like the Han Solo Last Shot book, or maybe you don't want to read what is it, Shadow's Veil, the Padme book.
Queen's Shadow.
Queen's Shadow. I heard it was actually really good, but I'll just point out an example. Maybe that's a book that you don't want to read. I feel like this really appeals to the masses, and you get your chance to read it on November 10th when it hits store shelves. Get that Barnes & Noble exclusive. You get the poster. Then that's really the only other benefit to that. But you know,
can I add one quick thing, David? We are doing on Around the Galaxy. We had Mike Chen, who wrote Disturbance. He was on last week, 2 weeks ago. Sorry. Next week we have Michael Marisi, who wrote a story called Beyond Hope, which is the story of a rebel troop in the trenches during the Battle of Hoth. And then the week after that, I mentioned her, Brittany Williams, who did the L337 story, is going to be on Around the Galaxy. So we sort of have an unofficial kind of series of authors from this book who are going to be joining us. And those, I have to tell you, those are some of my favorite interviews, because these guys are bigger fans than us, and they're just so psyched to be there. And we've had some really fun conversations, so check them out.
Around the Galaxy every Tuesday on Beyond the Blast Doors Network. Check out those episodes; a lot more fun. There's even maybe a Star Wars Halloween story that Pete Flitzer wrote. You can find that as well too. Andy Lemire says, "Hey, I want a Wampa story. Yeah, well, you know what? I want a Wampa story too, damn it. And I think we're going to get one too. I'm pretty excited about it. Hey, so we are Scotty J-Ro. Jeez, Pete, way to flex. Yeah, I know. Yep. He comes on BTB Live to flex. No, it's okay.
It's the network, baby.
It's the network, baby. It's the network. Hey, and you know what? We're about to show the real power of the network, because joining us now on BTBD Live, episode 95, we got Mr. Andy and we got Mr. Josh. And they're joining us from the Holochronicles. Hey, boys.
What's happening?
Oh, that was a lot less energy than I thought you guys were going to meet me with.
I was spinning. I was spinning. I just didn't want to spin all the way because then my mic cable would get caught. But
I wanted you guys to shout. This is so great. Look at us. There's 5 of us here. We're really excited. We got a great crew in the live chat. Shout out. We've had a high number. I think it was 25 folks. So we're going to go ahead and ask you right now, because we are about to dive into the Haslab's Razorcrest. Ladies and gentlemen, my wife said that if I cancel my current subscription with my insurance and get on her Progressive Insurance, I can buy my own Razorcrest Haslab project. And damn it, I'm gonna do it.
I'm calling Flo. I'm calling Flo. I'm calling Flo.
Listen, I hate this at the same time, because I never wanted to be that guy that got permission from his wife. Like I'm gonna keep doing my own thing. You know, I don't need her to give me, you know, green lights on things. It's my money. You know, I work for my money. I can do it. 6 months in, I'm like my father, and so I have the green line, and I'm really excited about that. But oh yeah, everyone in live chat super excited. We got Frammy really excited. Mr. Rez says hi to the guys. Scotty J-Ro, the most beautiful people on the network. I feel like
obviously. Hello, Andy. Hold on.
Hey, my buddy. Hello. Do I need to flip you guys around? Do I need to do like?
Hey, my buddy.
We're obviously just really excited to be talking Star Wars tonight. So, Arezou, Pete, it's up to you. Do you guys want to step out for a second, or do you want to stay with this conversation? It's totally up to you. I'm going to give you the option because what the hell? Why not? Right?
I don't have to be here. I've got nothing to add for this. I didn't ask for permission because I don't really want one.
well, there you go. Well, see, Arezou, you're gone. And Eat, I guess you're going to step out too for a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, well, he's gone. That was pretty easy.
Wow, wait, what just happened?
Well, just sucked him out of the freaking.
Just jettisoned. Just like, jettisoned.
We just put a freaking hole in the side of this cruise ship.
Oh,
and he just got sucked into space. That was incredible.
That's Holochronicles style right there. We will make people stop listening.
No, I'm teasing. I've had a lot of fun. This has been such a weird last couple of weeks. And, you know, it's so fun to have Arezou on the show now. It's so fun to have Pete on the show. And we're doing a lot of cool things here on BTBD Live and across the network. And here's a prime example of, okay, here on the network, we continue to build and do cool segments like this. We'll have the Holochronicles boys come on and talk a little Haslab project. So
thank God. Can I go backwards?
What?
Can I just say one thing? It'll be another plug for the network, which you have just plugged multiple times, and I appreciate it.
We talk about
as part of the network
show.
So can I just plug this? Because of the from a certain point of view kind of hype we got, and some of what Pete in our private chat was sharing with us, and I know you guys talked about it, and I'm sorry I missed it because I was doing another thing, but I dove in to get here and I caught like 5 minutes of the end. I am in like an hour into the New Hope from a certain point of view, and I absolutely love it. And you just made reference to it, which was which part? Anyway, it doesn't matter. It is such a cool Oh no, the why they didn't shoot the
escape pods at the beginning.
The escape pod. I loved that, and it was actually that was one of the more, you know, so far one of the best written ones, because they talked about the data, you know, analyst who's basically just sharking people and fixing their problems. I loved it, and then the one that was my favorite so far was about the Jawa who found R2's memory module.
No, by far the worst of those.
I loved that one. God. What are you talking about?
There's 8 stories about these damn Jawas. I don't give a rip. Okay?
Are you kidding me? After the Mandalorian kills them, at least I know who they are now.
There's just, I'm a firm believer, there's just some stories that didn't even be told. And I'm embarrassed for you that that's a story that you like.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And by the way, David, move yourself off the screen. By the way,
Are
you don't have to listen to David to agree with me.
Well, that's really weird. Josh just left the show, and I'm not sure what happened there.
No, but thank you so much for the. What I'm trying to say is thank you for tuning me in to not turning me on, but tuning me in to.
Hey, I'm an attractive man. I don't know where everyone gets off on this network. Okay, hopefully in their privacy, but also why is it? I'm a good-looking guy. I mean, maybe I do it for you. I don't know. I mean, you have a wife and kid. What do they call me?
How do we move him off the screen? I'm just kidding.
You can't. I have the power.
All right, let's get to the point
Can we
here.
Get to the point of the
I'm the one that interrupted. That was my bad. He did pull himself out. That was great.
Hey, do you think?
I don't want that to happen again.
Do you think it's kind of funny how in A New Hope, when we saw C-3PO throwing little robes onto the fire, you were like, oh, poor Jawas. And then in The Mandalorian, they get dusted by the Mandalorian, and we're like, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good moment. That was a great moment. Hey guys, you want to talk about what we're actually going to talk about on the show tonight? Like
Let's do it.
Sure.
Okay, well, I wanted to ask for permission first because I have a tendency of just sticking to a plan. I don't know. I'm just teasing.
You may proceed.
Oh man.
Thank you. No, guys, we're just having a good time. Listen, The Mandalorian second season has arrived, and so has Haslab's Razorcrest campaign. It actually keeps on chugging along here because we've previously reported that it just keeps getting thousands and thousands more backers for this Hasbro project. They've already had to stretch the goal 3 times. Hasbro just announced that they've now added 2 more. The first is when this thing hits 15,000 backers, you're going to get a transparent stand for the ship. This thing is massive. And at 17,000 backers, Hasbro will throw in a 3¼ inch or 3 7, what is it? 3/4 inch, 3 2/3 inch. I don't know. Off-world Jawa.
3/4.
Thank you. I can't read math.
Leave the math to the math teacher, please.
It's I didn't even know you taught math, so that just tells me I'm a terrible friend. But it's an off-world Jawa elder figure that we get. And oh my damn, it's $350. Both of you boys have backed this project. So realistically, are we going to get to 17,000? Will my one backing of this ship help us get that off-world Jawa?
We don't need you. I mean, yes.
Yes. Well, see, here's the long and short of it, David. Right before I went on, I checked and we are 930 away from 17,000. And we've got 5 days and 1 hour to get there. And the way we've been moving the last couple days, we're going to get that 5th unlock. And what I think is interesting about this, I don't know, Josh, you can pop in on this too, but like there's been 5 unlocks so far, and they've been like cool, lame, cool, lame, cool. And to me anyway, they've been like inconsistent. They're not like progressively getting cooler, which you would think they would, but yeah, 5 days to go, 930 to get that last unlock of the carded off-world Jawa, to go with your carded 3 3/4 inch Baby Yoda in the pod, as well as a Mandalorian that comes with the Razorcrest. So, Josh, what do you think about the unlocks so far?
I actually understand their strategy. I get it. Part of me, especially with the stand. Now, when you're adding like the carbonite, bounties, and you're adding other cool stuff, cool. But the stand for me was like, okay, we had to unlock that because you're looking at, like David said, a massive display piece, like a really big display piece. According to the small hands model that was displaying it, on do you have that image? I loved it because it was like, show me the hands. Show me the hands. They were like show me hands, like banana for scale is what I was going for. And so we saw the scale. And yeah, no, take it easy. We saw the scale and I was like, yeah, give me a stand, because Andy and I have talked about on our pod, like, displaying your pieces when you put them down and then having a stand that kicks it to the left like it's banking. It's fantastic. So I don't disagree with you, Andy, when it comes to like cool, lame. It's almost like give it all to me, because we talked about this a bit on our show. Is we didn't get any extras when we pumped up the mark. So obviously Haslab has learned their lesson. A little bit of promotional drive, and look, we're spreading the word right now, because guess what? We need 900 more supporters to get us to the next level, which is what is the next level?
Next level is the carded off-world Jawa, and this is the count that I am only concerned about tonight.
What is that?
The Haslab count.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, yeah. I see.
Vote blue. Vote blue. I'm sorry.
I've got.
But hold on. Pause right there and go back to that picture.
I can't. We'll circle back around.
It's cool, but that was an amazing picture.
Two things, Josh, you're absolutely right. The stand should be a part of the original package, because we got such a cool stand with the Vintage Collection Slave One that it's like, yeah, you better just start putting them in there, because I mean, why would you not want to stand for your awesome vehicle to display? And then secondly, and those of you that know Lego, the Lego Razor's Crest specifically, you know that there's an escape pod on the top of that as well. And then the second unlock was an escape pod on the top of this one too. And the fact that an escape pod at the top of the Razor's Crest is featured prominently in the Lego and in the Haslab project makes me think, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but it makes me think that it's prevalent in some way to season 2.
I can roll with that. I here's my question about this. As someone who's not big into collecting the Hasbro product, I mean, I have a lot of Black Series figures, but I am just about to start my journey here if I really do pull the trigger on this $350 Haslab project, okay? The quality of detail, talk to me about the depths that Hasbro is going with this project. How do you justify $350? I thought originally you were getting a gray Razorcrest. It looks like we're actually getting a painted ship.
Yes.
Well, I think what you need to get from Haslab, if you're new to Haslab, what their big thrust is, and you can really kind of buy into this, and as a new collector, an existing collector, a seasoned collector, what they're trying to do is very collector based, and it's awesome. And they did this with the barge, is that they will send you updates. And David, to your point, what you're talking about there was a 3D model. This thing hasn't been built yet. However, in the images that you're showing right now, they prototyped this out finally. But initially, they just sent you really a 3D rendering, which is like some kind of laser scan of, probably just a port from the show. Like they ported over the 3D model that some genius at LucasArts designed for them, or Lucasfilms, and they ported that over, and that hadn't become physical yet. What you're looking at right here in the images, that is a physical model somebody's created through whatever molding process they use. I don't know. It's probably a 3D printer. But the one thing that I love about the Haslab project, for one, now that they've kind of expanded to tiers, but for two, the attention to detail is beyond, and even Andy just brought up Vintage Collection with the Slave One. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff, but the attention to detail that you will get out of a Haslab project is by far the best in any toy line that you can find. Now, the figures, the 3 3/4 figures, they're going to kind of look similar, but right there, that was my comment, was that ammo room, or the weapon room. That the attention to detail is amazing.
And the vac tube on the toilet too.
Right, the vac tube you saw drop down. You can go into.
That's why you buy it right there, is because you get the shitter. That's
you can go into the katana, the barge. I still look at it and find new things, just because I haven't like stared at it, for 3 hours. But I still look at it from time to time as I'm moving around my room or whatever, because as a collector, you're going to always change your displays to make room for the rest of the crap you bought. But I find something new every time. And looking at those images, I'm like, oh my gosh, you could look at the wiring, which is ridiculous, but I'm going too far into the weeds here. But.
Hey, I think
Josh,
we've all established. I think we've all established that it's a really solid model. Andy, do you have something real quick that you want to share?
Real quick, to make this go from a 9.5 to a 10, would be put some electronics in it. Give me a couple lights, and it'll put it over the moon.
Drop
Like,
lights?
Why not?
Like
Why not?
landing lights. Landing
lights.
Holy
maybe
moly.
a light in the cockpit area to light up the dashboard. Just put a couple little lights in there. We were putting lights in
And a
snow
C
speeders
battery. Make sure you use a C battery to power them.
In 1978, we were
This
putting
is so
batteries in our
dark right
vehicles.
now.
Why can't we do it now?
Oh my goodness. I'm excited, but I feel like that's gonna have to get like 20,000 backers. I feel like electronics added into the ship. There's gonna be some like redesign that's gonna be needed. And I'm not an electrician, so that's gonna be very complicated for me. I don't know if I need that. But
It's not complicated.
okay. Well, I'll trust your word for it. If someone wants to back this thing, what's the easiest way to do it?
Go to just type in Haslab Razorcrest. It'll take you right to the Hasbro Pulse. Right, that's what it's called, right? Hasbro Pulse. Take you right there, and you can lock and load and order it. It's supposed to come out in the fall of next year.
Hell yeah. Well, that's why we have the experts on, Mr. Andy, Mr. Josh. Welcome to BTBD Live. Fun to have you.
All right, go play with your toys.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us.
God, that was, again, just met with so much energy. I'm going to bring back Pete. I'm going to bring back Arezou to close this thing out. Episode 95 here at BTBD Live. Did you guys learn anything about this Haslab project that you didn't know before? Thanks to Andy and Josh. Arezou?
Every time they talk about it, I get closer and closer to buying it, and I know I'm running out of time.
Arezou, your voice
Pull the
dropped like a
trigger,
lot of
Fletzer. Pull the
Jesus
trigger.
Arezou, did you learn anything about the Haslab project you didn't already know?
That it's a lot more involved than I realized. I thought it was like a really intense Black Series figure. I did not realize.
No. I will forward you all of my barge emails from Haslab last year.
Okay.
And they'll be accompanied by,
She seems
they'll be
pretty
accompanied
excited
by
about
my,
it.
I was like,
my,
what
my
are
like,
these emails gonna
reaction.
say?
Well, yeah.
There was like one a month, right? There was like one a month. They just give you a little update. They feed you a little bit more news, and they just kind of keep you on the hook.
They're emailing me. I thought it was the other way around. Like, I think you should add this. And while you're at it, I thought you were emailing them.
They should ask us.
I did. They just bounced back.
Right.
They have all the power, Arezou. Arezou, for $350, how many books could you buy, you think?
350.
No, they're like
$20 a pop. I'm just saying.
Maybe 30.
I just think that you have the more
30 of the
cost-effective
paperbacks.
interests. For sure, because this Razorcrest thing is going to be expensive, but apparently I'm throwing my money at it. Do we know, Pete asked, do we know when it's shipping?
Fall of 2021.
Okay, because the cutoff to back this thing is the 9th of November.
Yep.
So you have to back it by the 9th.
5
then you
days,
go to your
1
bookstore
hour.
on the 10th, and you can buy the, from a certain point of view, Empire Strikes Back, and then you can read that book. And if you read one chapter every 2 weeks, then by the time you're done with the book, then your Razorcrest will come in the mail. Does that math work out? I think it does, guys.
It's
That's
close.
pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Sort of.
I'm a mass comm guy, so math is by far my worst subject. But I can tell that we have hit the hour mark on BTBD Live, and we've had a lot of fun, a lot of faces, something we're trying to do every week, just to give you variety and different perspectives of the Star Wars story and what's happening in the galaxy far, far away. Let's go around Red Robin. But real quick, I want to shout out Apprentice Ewok. Thank you for the hour of not thinking about anything but Star Wars. Wish I had the disposable income to get this. Yeah, me too. I feel like a lot of Star Wars collectors don't really have the money to spend, but they choose to do so anyways. Fair?
Yeah.
Is that a hot take?
Yes, we do.
Or is that
No, that's fair. I think it's fair.
Hey, just FYI, in the time that we've been talking about the Haslab project, 20 more people have bought in.
Hey,
There's 20 people
Hasbro,
in the
send
chat.
us a free one because we've helped promote 20 more sales.
We're influencers. We're influencers.
We're
20 times
influencing.
350 would be $7,000, right?
We just made seven. I'm taking full credit for it. I think we should take full credit for that.
Absolutely. Hey, it's
This
been a lot
just
of
in.
fun.
Pete took full credit for the Haslab project.
I still haven't bought one though.
Galanorian Saber says the whole crew's here. Yes, and we're so thankful to have that. Scotty J. Rowe, go play with your bedside toys. That sounds inappropriate. That sounds
Again.
that sounds like
Again.
Scotty's
Again.
just trying to get his comment on the screen. And damn it worked.
And it worked.
Hey, let's go around the horn. Arezou, man, anything that we need to say before we get out of here on this Wednesday night?
One good piece of news is that John Boyega met with a Disney executive after his GQ article, which I was really excited about because, they needed to talk to him about it. And I'm glad somebody took that initiative to do that. So that was a nice story from this week.
Way to go, Disney. Way to go, John Boyega, making it figure out. Pete Fletzer, anything that we need to talk about before we get out of here?
Nothing we need to talk about. No, just join the next couple of weeks of ATG. If you like the book and you want to hear from the authors, come check us out.
All right. Hey, we have a possible sponsor coming up for BTBD Live. How do you feel about male grooming? That's the prompt that we'll want you to answer for next week's episode of BTBD Live. Josh, do you have anything that you want to say before we get out of here tonight?
No, I mean, yes, obviously I have a lot to say all the time.
Please don't talk about male grooming here.
No,
please.
I will not. I will not. It obviously is not working. Thank you for joining us. Jeez. You can find me and you can find Andy at Holochronicles on Twitter. But more importantly, because we made a few statements here and we're the collector guys. Yeah, $350 is a lot, but I want you to think about the happiness that you will enjoy when that shows up at your house.
Your children will hate you. Your marriage will end.
Nope.
You'll have a
No. That's the negative. That's the hold on. That's the side. That's the side that doesn't want you to be happy up there. But if you really, really want to be happy, pitch in on the Razorcrest. Look, what happens if we get to 25,000? That's what I'm really trying to figure out. Will it fly? Anyway, go ahead, Andy.
There should be a drone engine.
Andy, straighten me out.
Well, I was going to say over the next 12 months, that's about $65 a month if you want to break it down.
It's all like right? 17 cheeseburgers.
It's like somewhere thereabouts. But the next 6 Mondays, we are recapping the Mando Monday toy and merch releases, 7 p.m. Pacific every Monday night. And we plan on having a guest with us, a guest expert on toys and merch for the next 6 weeks. We just had our buddy Paul Penrose on last week, and it was great. Come join us on Mondays.
Great plug. I also want to shout out the Bombad Cast this weekend. Scotty J. Rowe, Jerry, the Cannon Junkie, doing some great work over there as always. So
with 3 of the people on the screen right here, we joined them. It was a Phantom Menace.
What the hell? Can we have some exclusivity on this network? I mean, I just got I'm sweating because I feel now. Okay. All right, great. Well, if we want to have the same group of people talk again, you want to hear them talk again this Saturday, they're going to have a lot of fun talking about the Phantom Menace and what it was like to be like 20 when the movie came out. Okay, great. Is there anything that we need? I'm joking. I don't think
I wasn't there because I wouldn't know what it was like to be 20.
I wasn't even a fetus at that point. Let's be. Well, wait, 99. 22. I was alive. I was 6. 8?
But you weren't a fetus, that's for sure.
Oh, God. What the hell? Well, hey, episode 95 of BTB Live is in the books. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, be sure that you come back every Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific here on YouTube. We will be back. Don't forget this Friday. We are also going to be breaking down that Chapter 10 of The Mandalorian, 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you then.
Thank you for watching Beyond the Blast Doors. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment. Beyond the Blast Doors, a Star Wars conversation.